The final straw. The great domed chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so silent. Representatives from over 80 species, some ancient, some newly spacefaring, sat in tense rows as Earth's delegation prepared to speak. Holographic flags shimmered overhead, displaying the emblems of each world state. The Terran emblem, once projected with vibrant blue and green, now flickered, its transmission code partially disabled. At the center stood Ambassador Elena Vance, her silver and black uniform pressed with military precision, her expression carved from stone. The air was thick with anticipation, but Vance's words, when they came, were razor-sharp and clear. "We joined this council 57 years ago with hope," she said, voice ringing across translation relays. "Hope that unity could mean something, that differences could be debated, not exploited." She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the room. Some alien faces avoided her eyes. Others stared with unreadable expressions. "We offered innovation, trade, peacekeeping, mediation." She tapped a control on her wrist pad, and behind her, a series of images flashed. Terran ships escorting refugee fleets, humans brokering ceasefires in volatile sectors, Earth sending food and water to drought-stricken worlds. "And in return," she said, voice tightening, "we were asked to compromise. Again and again. When our colonies were attacked, we were told to be patient. When trade routes were sabotaged, we were told to avoid escalation. When a Hesperia, a civilian colony ship carrying 10,000 souls, was destroyed in disputed space, we were told it was regrettable." The final image appeared. The drifting hull of the Hesperia, torn open, its passengers presumed lost. A murmur rippled through the chamber. "Regret is not justice," Vance said, eyes glowing with fire. "Regret is not protection, and regret will not bring our people back." Silence. Then she said the words that shook the galaxy. Effective immediately, the Terran Confederation withdraws from all council proceedings. Diplomatic, military, and economic. Dozens of envoys leapt to their feet. Some shouted in disbelief. Others hurled accusations. One even begged her to reconsider. But Vance stood unmoving, calm, unbreakable. "This isn't abandonment," she said over the rising noise. "This is survival." As she turned to leave, her parting words echoed in every translation system. "We came in peace. We leave because we found none." The council chamber dissolved into chaos behind her, but Elena Vance felt no regret. Back aboard the TCS Horizon, Earth's diplomatic flagship, now moored above Council Station, she removed her ambassador's badge and set it on her desk. The room was dim, lit only by the stars beyond the viewport. A soft tone chimed. Commander Rajan, her military attaché, appeared on the comm screen. "It's done," he asked. "It's done," she confirmed. "Orders from Earth High Command. They're activating Protocol Helix. All diplomats recalled. Borders sealed. Strategic alliances reevaluated. Full defensive posture." Rajan nodded grimly. "Some of the outer species won't take this well." "They never wanted us at the table," Elena said. "Only under it." Rajan frowned. "And the council? They'll flail," she said. "Then they'll fracture." Later, on Earth, news of the withdrawal spread like wildfire. Crowds gathered in major cities, some cheering, others uncertain. The media speculated wildly, some calling it a bold assertion of sovereignty, others calling it reckless isolationism. In orbit, fleets realigned. Trade convoys were recalled. The Terran Defense Net, once partially integrated with council systems, came back online in full. Silent. Impenetrable. At the council's central headquarters, internal bickering exploded. The normally unified Varnari bloc accused the insectoid Zix coalition of provoking the Terrans. The Karzul Mercantile Guild threatened to close trade routes without Terran oversight. Smaller species, once under Earth's protection, sent panicked messages asking for guidance. No one had expected the humans to walk away. No one had imagined what the galaxy would look like without them. From her cabin window, Elena Vance stared at the stars and whispered to herself. "They thought we needed them. They forgot we once stood alone." A new chapter had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. Fractures in the void. The Council was unraveling. Less than a month after humanity's departure, over 40 sectors had fallen into disarray. Patrol routes once secure by Terran fleets were now unguarded voids, vulnerable to piracy and hostile reclamation. Peacekeeping forces, largely dependent on human logistics, found themselves stranded, undersupplied, and outgunned. In the Xerinth Expanse, a region previously stabilized through Terran mediation, the long-dormant border war between the Gallery clans and the industrialized Veshtal flared up like a wound reopened. In just 4 days, 6 orbital stations burned. Civilian transports fled in waves, seeking any refuge beyond the war zone. The Council passed 3 motions for ceasefire negotiations. None were enforced. No one had the authority anymore. At the heart of the Council chamber, Speaker Drelmar of the Varnari slammed his tendrils against the floor in frustration. The Terrans abandoned their post, he hissed. This is their fault. Incorrect, snapped High Broker Irix, representing the Karzul Mercantile Guild. It was our arrogance that drove them out. You denied their grievances, ignored the Hesperia incident. What did you expect? The chamber, once a symbol of unity, now pulsed with recrimination. Beneath the political shouting, quiet desperation brewed. The Council's strength had always depended on an unspoken balance, one anchored by Terran diplomacy and deterrence. Now that anchor was gone. Far across the stars, beyond the reach of the Council's gaze, Earth watched. From orbit, TCS Dauntless, a stealth-class dreadnought, floated in silent observation of the Telenri Drift, an unstable trade corridor the Council had deemed non-essential after Earth's exit. But Earth had its own plans. On the bridge, Captain Rena Soto reviewed the incoming data. 3 different pirate clans had moved into the drift in the last 12 days. One of them, the Bractus Syndicate, had already enslaved a small outpost. Orders, Herexo asked. Rena didn't hesitate. Drop cloak. Engage. We make it clear, Earth protects what it built. In 5 minutes, the Bractus fleet was scrap metal. Earth wasn't retreating. It was choosing its own battles now. Within Earth's Strategic Council, now reorganized as the Terran Compact Directorate, plans were moving forward. Not to conquer, but to outlast. Admiral Marcus Talon, head of Defense Coordination, met with Chancellor Elena Vance in the newly fortified Orbital Command Center above Earth. Council comm traffic has increased by 300%, Talon said. Dozens of species are trying to contact us. Let them wait, Vance replied, arms folded. They only remembered our value after they lost it. Talon hesitated. Some are genuine. Smaller worlds. Trade partners. Species under threat. They're not asking us to come back to the Council. They're asking for stability. Vance considered that. Then we give them a choice. Bilateral relations. No Council. No compromises. We protect our own, and those who treat us as equals. Humanitarian missions? Yes, but on our terms. No more diplomacy by committee. Back in the outer reaches of known space, the Council's power continued to fade. In the Brel Axis, once governed under Council neutrality laws, the ruling Meltrothi aristocrats were overthrown in a sudden rebellion. The rebels, in their declaration, quoted a human text, the Declaration of Earth Unity, and thanked the Terrans for showing them how to rise. In secret chambers, some Council races began forging their own pacts. Old treaties dissolved in days. Covert skirmishes flared between fleets that were, by charter, supposed to be allies. By week 6, the Galactic Council's central servers were being hacked, not by external forces, but by its own members, desperate to rewrite laws, erase sanctions, and seize control before someone else did. And above it all, Earth watched with cold precision. Back aboard TCS Horizon, Elena Vance reviewed the data feeds from across the galaxy. Violence, betrayal, silence from once proud allies. They laughed at us for being too emotional, she said quietly, turning to her aide. Now look at them, screaming in every direction. Do we help? The aide asked. Vance didn't answer immediately. Then, softly, we help those who deserve it, and we prepare for the ones who'll come after us. The aide nodded. Then what do we call this phase? Vance looked out at the stars, a faint glint in her eyes. Recalibration, the burning sky accords. The attack came just before dawn cycle in the Trask 9 system, where a Terran orbital station served as both a humanitarian outpost and logistics hub. Without warning, the sky above the frozen colony world lit up, dozens of ships exiting FTL space in a tight combat formation. The Avenari Dominion, once a staunch member of the Galactic Council, had declared the Terran withdrawal an existential threat to galactic cohesion. Their solution: force Earth back into the fold, with violence if necessary. The Avenari fleet opened fire without warning. By the time Terran reinforcements arrived, the orbital station was a drifting skeleton, its civilian wards destroyed. Over 400 Terran citizens, doctors, and relief engineers were dead. It was a line crossed, and Earth responded with fire. Across 20 light-years, the 3rd Terran Response Fleet deployed under emergency authority. They didn't ask permission. They didn't broadcast warnings. They just arrived. TCS Vengeance, a Leviathan-class assault carrier, dropped out of FTL above Avenari border post V-17, the very installation that had coordinated the attack. The system's defender scrambled, but it was too late. Terran kinetic strike weapons, tungsten rods accelerated to near-light speeds, turned the outpost into a crater before anyone could even finish hailing. A single message was transmitted from the Terran flagship on every known frequency. You attacked unarmed civilians. This is your only warning. Stand down or be erased. The Terran Compact. The galaxy heard it, and it listened. In the heart of Earth's command structure, Chancellor Elena Vance convened a closed-door session with military leadership and diplomatic strategists. The room was quiet, deadly focused. They thought we'd hesitate, said Admiral Talon, voice flat. They thought diplomacy still bound us. No, Vance said coldly. They thought they could shame us back into compliance. What they forgot is we were never afraid of war, only of wasting it. She keyed in a series of orders on her secure tablet. A title appeared at the top of the screen: The Burning Sky Accords. It's time we write new rules. The Burning Sky Accords were released to the galaxy within 72 hours. It wasn't a treaty. It wasn't a request. It was a declaration of principle, simple, brutal, clear. 1. Earth will not rejoin the Galactic Council. 2. Any act of aggression against Terran or allied systems will be met with overwhelming retaliation. 3. The Terran Compact reserves the right to defend neutral systems where Council protection has failed. 4. No species shall dictate the path of humanity. Earth chooses its allies. Earth defends its own. Attached to the message were surveillance feeds of the Trask 9 attack and the obliteration of Avenari post V-17. A warning and a promise. The galaxy reeled. In secret forums across the stars, the response fractured along lines of fear and envy. The Trillari enclaves, long allied with Earth in science and trade, immediately endorsed the accords. The Yelthari, known for their neutrality, quietly opened communications with Terran envoys, seeking new bilateral agreements. But others plotted. The Avenari doubled down, claiming Earth's strike was an escalation of unprecedented scale. They called for a united strike force to restore balance. Only a handful of Council worlds responded. The rest remained silent. Some feared Earth's growing military prowess. Others feared Earth's restraint might not last forever. On Vyrek Station, a border colony recently abandoned by Council patrols, a desperate message arrived. We are under attack. Raiders have taken orbit. Council forces have not responded. If anyone hears this, we beg, help us. That signal reached Earth. 6 hours later, TCS Valor arrived in orbit above Vyrek. Within 2 more, the Raiders were gone, wiped from the stars. Terran Marines deployed food, medical aid, and anti-orbital defenses. They left a simple beacon behind, protected under the Burning Sky Accords, Terran Compact. Word spread quickly. The Council had failed. Earth had not. Back aboard the TCS Horizon, Vance met in private with her most trusted staff. They've begun choosing, her aide reported. Dozens of systems are reaching out. Some want defense. Some want trade. A few want protection with no strings attached. No such thing anymore, Vance said. We don't want empires. We want partners. Let's find the ones worth standing for. And the council? Vance looked out across the void. They set the sky on fire, she said. Now they'll learn. We don't just survive fire. We forge in it. The Quiet Empire. 3 months after the Burning Sky Accords, the galaxy had changed, but not loudly. There were no grand declarations of allegiance, no open wars or mass defections from the Council. Instead, something more profound had begun to take shape. World by world, system by system, species began choosing Earth. Not because they were forced, not because of ideology, but because Earth delivered what the Council no longer could: protection, consistency, and truth. In a universe spiraling into uncertainty, humans have become a strange new constant, unyielding, unbending, and unmistakably sovereign. In the Niscari Belt, a volatile mining region abandoned by Council security forces, Terran diplomats arrived on a battered freighter. No warships, no threats, just a small team led by envoy Mara Juno, carrying water purification tech, medkits, and anti-radiation shields. The Niscari welcomed them with suspicion. By the 3rd day, the water was running again. By the 7th, Earth had its first compact outpost in the belt. The deal was simple: mutual defense, fair trade, and no interference in internal governance. In return, the Terran Compact would defend Niscari space as their own. The Niscari voted 92% in favor. Not an empire, Mara Juno said during the signing ceremony. Just a net that catches those falling through the cracks. Back on Earth, the Directorate reviewed the expansion. 15 systems had signed individual compacts. 35 more had opened preliminary talks. And the Council? They were still debating Terran aggression behind closed doors, while pirates gutted their borders and fringe worlds crumbled under local unrest. They still don't understand, Chancellor Elena Vance said in a closed briefing to her cabinet. We never needed their permission. We needed their honesty, and they never had it. Admiral Talon nodded. They see our actions as conquest, but to everyone else, we look like stability. Order. Vance allowed herself a rare smile. Exactly. We don't have to raise a flag over the galaxy. We just have to hold the line. The rest will come. Meanwhile, inside the fractured halls of the Galactic Council, tensions boiled. The Avenari, humiliated by Terran retaliation, pushed for a combined military initiative, but their cries were met with silence. The Zix coalition quietly rerouted its commerce fleets through Terran-controlled sectors for safety. The Varnari bloc, once proud champions of galactic unity, had split. Half of their member worlds had already signed secret resource exchange pacts with Earth. Speaker Drelmar slammed his limb against the ceremonial gong in frustration. They are building an empire under your noses, he shouted. And you let them. No one responded. Because the truth was clear to all. There was no Terran empire. But the idea of Earth now reached farther than any flag ever could. Out in the Marexis Drift, a region known for lawlessness, a Terran science vessel named Beacon transmitted an open signal. We carry medical aid, climate stabilizers, and advanced hydroponic tech. We ask for nothing. Only peace and protection for our crew. 5 Marauder fleets ignored it and descended. They were met by TCS Orion, which burned 2 fleets to dust and disabled the rest in minutes. The Beacon never fired a shot. 3 local worlds sent messages to Earth that same night, requesting contact. They had watched. They had listened. And now they had decided. Within the upper tiers of Earth's government, a new department was formed. Compact Liaison Command, tasked not with conquest or coordination, but with invitation. They didn't demand compliance. They offered partnership. They moved quietly, carefully, patiently. A quiet empire without chains. A silent revolution built on earned trust, not fear. One evening aboard the TCS Horizon, as stars shimmered beyond the viewports, Chancellor Vance stood beside a window alone. Her aide approached. "Status updates, ma'am," he said, handing her a slate. She scanned it briefly, then set it down. "Tell me," she said, "when we started all this, did you imagine it would work?" He hesitated, then answered, "Not like this. I expected war. Resistance. Screaming." Vance smiled faintly. "And instead, we got silence. A quiet empire?" She turned to face the stars. "No," she said. "A quiet choice. That's the difference." Epilogue to Book 1. The council still met, still argued, still printed their decrees. But the galaxy no longer listened. Out beyond their walls, a new constellation was forming, one built not from dominance but discipline. Humanity hadn't conquered the stars. They had simply shown what came next. And the galaxy, fractured and frightened, followed. Not because it had to, but because Earth was the only one who still believed in something stronger than politics. Principle.